Hello, America and the world. This is Radio Free Market, and I'm your host, Michael McKay. We are behind the lines of socialism, my friends, and Radio Free Market is the voice of free people and free markets. Our topic today is the moral basis of capitalism with Dr. Paul Prentice. Welcome, Paul.
Hello, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm very happy to have you with us. So, folks, Dr. Paul Prentice is a founding faculty and professor of economics at Yorktown University. He's an adjunct fellow at the Ludwig Mises Institute and a founder and president of the Pikes Peak Economic Club in Colorado. I also want to welcome our special commentator today, Mr. Christopher Opperman. Welcome, Christopher.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
Yeah, glad to have you as well. So Chris is currently an undergraduate at Harvard, and I met Chris while he and I were attending Mises University in 2009. Chris has the distinction of being one of the award-winning young scholars at the 2009 Mises University. So let's get started with this right away. Paul, you've written and spoken a lot about the moral basis for capitalism. Why do you think it's important to defend capitalism on moral grounds?
Well, it's actually critical, in my opinion, because what we have is a lot of the argument going on today is based on utilitarian grounds. In other words, is socialism better for us in producing goods and services and distributing the fruits of that production, or is capitalism better? That's a very utilitarian argument about which simply creates greater levels of income and wealth, and people argue about that. But what to me is not arguable is the moral basis of these two systems, and particularly the moral basis of capitalism, based on fundamentally free people engaging in voluntary exchange, and that is just so morally superior to any other system.
So, if I can interrupt you, so when you're saying utilitarian grounds, is that the same thing as saying that morals don't matter?
Yes, in a sense that Stalin is famous. I think it was Stalin. It might have been Lenin, though. I get them mixed up. For saying that when he was accused of killing too many people, that he just said, well, you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. That's a very utilitarian approach. You get greater. You're looking at the quantity of output compared to the quantity of input. You're looking at quantities of things. You're not looking at people.
Okay. So, Chris, you wanted to talk about something that the Greek philosophers brought out. Go ahead.
Sure. I mean, Socrates had a famous saying that all knowledge begins with the definition of terms. So I wanted to ask Dr. Prentice, I guess in your experience, what do people usually think about when they hear the word capitalism? I mean, how correct is the portrayal we get from Hollywood and the press about what capitalism is?
Oh, boy. I'll tell you, I've got a great story on that. I have a former MBA student whom, when I asked the class, just in general, what did you think of the word capitalism, to start, because we have to define terms so we can communicate. And she was from Oregon, from Corvallis, I believe. And she said, well, capitalism, that's a system whereby the rich and the strong exploit the poor and the weak. So that was her definition of capitalism. So we had quite a long ways to go to define and properly define the system. And I believe in many people's minds, because of the perversions that come out of Hollywood themselves and the perversions in the modern academy, and by that I simply mean higher education, a lot of people have that view, and it's simply incorrect.
Sure. So I guess if you had to correct her in a nutshell, what would you say is authentic capitalism?
And you have 10 seconds to answer that question.
Yeah.
Authentic capitalism is simply people engaging in voluntary production and exchange. It's that simple. It's voluntary.
Well, we're going to come back after a break, and actually I wanted to mention that my daughter said we should rename the show How We Can Do the Right Thing and Still Make Money. And that was her translation for this. So, folks, stay with us. This is Radio Free Market. I'm your host, Michael McKay, and we'll be back right after the break. Stay with us.